he's quite the big guy, ain't he? In the show, he was basically the tank. Well, I don't remember much else about him, so let's get this review started. His slots consist of a 6-star defense, put his true weapon, 5-star physical, you could put any self-APS equip, so he could start tanking faster, and 4-star defense, or at limit break 7, a 4-star support. Maybe if the alternative was a heal slot, I could see it being worth limit break 7, but otherwise not. Other than that, this guy has the same exact slots as Thetis and Kirisame. His skill deals 3000% dark physical damage, and increases own arts gauge by 40 on a 12-second CT. Not much else to say other than the fact this is a good self-APS skill to get this kit going. Next, his arts deals 25,000% dark physical damage, and for 15 seconds, it decreases enemies' dark resistance by 50%. 50% is a general amount of resistance lower on a normal arts, so this is quite cool, but usually you'd prefer to run someone else with a higher amount of lower resistance on a true art or a super art. His true art deals 50,000% dark physical damage, and for 30 seconds it consumes his own HP by 2% per second. And for 40 seconds he increases his own physical resistance by 30%, and taunts for a barrier of 35,000 for himself. This is one of the highest barrier multipliers for a true art barrier, along with a physical resistance buff for own self, which I believe no other tank offers. The HP consumption effect hints at a possible near-death type of tank, which is interesting for sure. So, his super arts deals 150,000% dark physical damage, and for the duration of super arts he ignores 100% of enemies' defense. And for 40 seconds, his paralyzed and freeze resistance is increased by 100%. The combination of DPS and sustain on a super art is quite interesting. The super art can be good on stages that need to ignore defense, and these resistances can improve his tanking so he doesn't get frozen or paralyzed. Because both his true art and super art have 40-second CTs, a true art and super art rotate is pretty solid on them for a solid tanking / DPS and DPS build. His first ability increases his own damage the lower his own HP is up to 200%. When he takes lethal damage for the first time, he heals his own HP by 50%. You can confirm that he is a near-death tank / DPS character. If he's at 1 HP, he can dish out the damage, and with his actual good barrier, this is very good barrier. This is actually very much doable. His second ability increases his own equipped CT recovery by 20% when near death. This simply amplifies his abilities when near death. Cycling his defense equips becomes much easier, so all in all, this is a very much appreciated. His third ability increases his own damage res by 20% when near death. Adding this along with his true art makes it so he straight up takes 50% less physical damage. Near death on this guy is relatively easy to maintain as he's a tank, and with a 50% resistance to physical damage, making him basically almost unkillable to just physical damage. Okay, so his true weapon is a 5-star defense equip that increases his own damage resistance by 20%. And if he is under 50% HP, it'll increase by 30% instead, for 15 seconds on a 30-second CT. Since he's a taunt tank who wants to be near death, this is actually solid on him, as he can tank up to 80% of all physical damage dealt to him, which is actually crazy. When this is equipped on Era, his arts is increased by 100 at start of quest. This is cool as he can get his taunt up much faster. And the second ability increases his own defense by 10%. This is good as he's a tank, so yeah, that's cool. Overall, Era makes a solid near-death tank that can also deal some good damage at the same time. In stages that put you near death right away, this guy would probably be the best tank to run, as he gains several benefits near death. You might also be wondering what synergy he has with other units, and that's of course Fictional Mage Heart. A currently unreleased global unit on Global, in fact, is also a near-death DPS focused unit that can dish out a lot of damage when he's near death. So putting them together rates the near-death meta. So on that tier list, Kirisame is in S tier, and I find Era pretty much on the level with Kirisame, as Kirisame has a better barrier, but Era can also deal much more damage, giving a pretty good balance on Era. So I'd say he's definitely an S tier unit. If you get this guy on the banner, you basically don't need another tank unless the boss has Dark Killer or Taunt Killer. Onto his gacha equips. First equip is a 5-star defense, Ira Gamagori's Goku uniform. This equip heals allies HP by 200 per second for 10 seconds, and for 20 seconds it increases the allies' physical resistance by 30% on a 30-second CT. A solid sustaining defense equip that can both heal and provide general physical resistance buff on a good uptime. This equip can be used in stages that deal physical damage, and you wouldn't really run this on Ira, as his true weapon gives him 100 arts at the start of quest, but indeed the general effect is much better than what his true weapon offers. The second equip is also a 5-star defense, Ira Gamagori's Tri-City Schools Raid Trip Jersey. This equip for 20 seconds increases targets' light resistance by 30%, and when used for the first time increases targets' arts by 50 on a 30-second CT. This arts buff can be really useful for nukers who have defense slots, so running this equip in nukes is actually quite good. It also makes a great replacement if you're missing Black Strike, which was a Black Rock Shooter collab equip, and that probably is not ever coming back, anytime soon at least. And the last equip is a 5-star physical equip. In fact, this equip is actually the new farmable equip in the collab, Iragamagori's car. So this equip deals 8,200% dark physical damage, and for 10 seconds it increases its own physical damage by 30%, and if the user is dark 60% instead on a 45-second CT. This is basically just a nuke equip, but obviously it's mediocre as it's farmable, but for beginners who might want to be nuking with this is not bad, but you just gotcha for the freaking Blade Regalia, it's so much better. The first ability increases its own accuracy by 20% when above 90% HP. Accuracy is a niche ability, but when it's needed, it's cool. But 20% is really subpar compared to the standards nowadays. The second ability is an enchant passive. If you look at it, if you were to put it on Ira, I'd definitely choose the resistance buffs or skill CT. But if you're using this for damage, using damage against humans isn't bad at all. Or you could do beasts, depending on whatever boss you're fighting. So for crests, I would run Truth of Eternity and Magic Circuit for Ira. But those crests are very specific to crest palaces, so you'd probably run Equip CT Recovery and Skill CT Speed for general usage. And if you were struggling to do a stage, you could switch out the Skill CT Speed for whatever resistance you need for such a stage. You can also replace it for Arch Gauge Up for general usage, of course. As for team compositions, because he's a tank, and you're Death One at that, running healers wouldn't be the play to run with him. So I would avoid any sort of healers. So no Heart, no Priestess. There really isn't a specific team you'd run with him as a tank without any healing. So I would run War God Fan, Diablo, any of those type of characters, they'd work well with him. He's definitely a solid tank to obtain, so I wouldn't be mad if you got him. So see you all in the non-on video. Peace!